Hey friends, Kevin here, and while usually we try to do happy topics, I also try to be realistic, so today we're going to talk about the reasons that people fail at van life. Let's get to it. Now, most people in forums and on YouTube and what have you, they try to preach that, this van life and taking off on the road either full-time or part-time is the greatest thing they have ever done, and it can be, and that everyone should just drop what they're doing and start doing van life. And that is a horrible, horrible mistake, and I think it's a disservice for the people that put that out there to other people, because they don't know the situation of all the other people that they're talking to that might be listening to them or might be motivated by them. So we need to talk about the realistic part. Number one, I've met people that have failed, if you want to call it that, or quit van life because they simply can't deal with the loneliness. If you're traveling solo and you're trying to do this inexpensively, especially once you cross the Mississippi headed west, the way to do that inexpensively means you're staying in some obscure, remote places oftentimes, where you're not going to be meeting people. It's not like being down at the state park where every 15 feet is another potential camper, and you can walk around the little circle and you can meet people, and you may get invited over, or you may invite someone else over to chat around the campfire and have that social interaction with people. And the basic fact is this: some people are good loners. I am. Some people aren't. They can't stand not being around other people. They have to have that interaction every day. I like that interaction a lot, but there's times I want to be alone too. But not everyone's built that way. And if you're that type of person that you need to be around people, and you're trying to do this cheap, and you're stuck out in the middle of the desert or the middle of the woods day after day after day because you don't have a lot of money to keep traveling, and you're in a remote place by yourself, that can be, quite honestly, too much for some people. Now, the solution for that is you have to find ways to keep yourself entertained. And you need to have hobbies out there and something you're working towards. Maybe it's being healthier and you're going to be walking more and hiking more. Maybe it's going to be reading or researching something or learning about plants or rocks or trees or whatever. But you have to have something to keep yourself going with when you're alone, or it can start to get to you. It's not fun if you're feeling like you're the last man or the last woman on the planet when you get somewhere so remote. Not everyone is cut out for camping. There are people that go out on the road and have never done this before, and they will drive over the course of 2 or 3 days 2,000 miles to get into the desert or get into the mountains, depending on which way they're going. And they have never probably camped out a single night in their adult life. And they are simply not prepared for noise from insects and animals. They are not prepared with things howling off in the distance. They are not prepared to have to deal with bugs, mosquitoes, what have you, in different areas where they end up. So my advice to anyone that hasn't done a lot of this is start doing it locally. Go out in your car if you're thinking about van life, or your truck or whatever you have, and start spending some weekends around in your local area, in campgrounds, whatever you have, and see if this is really going to be for you, because some people can't stand it. They see these videos and they read these forums, and nobody ever talks about the bad stuff that's out there. And there are times that you're going to end up in an area and you can just be eat up with whatever is there. The next reason people fail being on the road is they have problems dealing with other people. Right? You are going to meet a variety of people on the road, if you've not been out here yet, that you cannot begin to fathom. It will be like joining the circus and running away with the circus, because you are going to meet a varied group of characters. Now, I love that. I think that's great, and I can get along with most people. But there's going to be some that you're going to run into that you can't. And there's going to be some that you're going to run into, just like any other part of life, that are really opinionated, or they just have a bad outlook on life and a bad attitude or whatever. And there's nothing you can do for those people other than get away from them. But sometimes people going out and doing this, they get a little too involved in other people's lives and dramas, just like they do in the real world. They try to do that out on the road too. And if you do that, that stuff can really derail you on the road just as much as it can in your personal life. Now, I'll stop and help anybody I can, do anything I can for anybody, but a smart adult understands sometimes that there's limits. So enjoy your interactions, enjoy the people you meet on the road, enjoy the friendships that you make, because it is a great thing. You will end up making friends with people that are from such a different walk of life than the path that you have been on. And I think one of the reasons I like it, it is the closest thing that I have ever found to what the rock heavy metal concert scene was back in the late 80s and early 90s. You went to shows and nobody cared what you did for a living. Everybody was just into the same thing. And you could have a lawyer standing next to a bag boy and nobody cared, because you were all on this same little musical journey and you were enjoying the same things. And I think that kind of interaction is missing from most things that are in our daily lives, because we end up in jobs and we end up in churches and we end up kind of in this same, or families, in this kind of same group of people. And after a while, we're never really getting out and experiencing other people outside of our little comfort zone. The downside to some people going on a road with van life is they're just not prepared for that, or they don't know how to interact with different types of people. And it's like anything else in life. You aren't born being able to do it. It's a skill that you pick up along the way and that you get better at. Then we come to the big one. Money. Money, money, money. Oh yeah. Because money is going to matter. And again, this whole drop what you're doing, jump in a van or another vehicle, and it will solve all of life's problems. Just drop everything and take off. That's great, but you need a plan, and that plan has to involve money. So if you can't budget and make it right now, wherever you are, and I can say that without being too judgmental, because once at an earlier point in my life, I can guarantee you I was not the smartest guy where money was concerned. I just learned along the way. But you have got to get your budget and yourself under control wherever you are in order to be able to take off and do this on the road. And you have to have a realistic expectation of the amount of money you have and the amount of money that you can spend every day, and whether or not you're going to have to find something to do on the road to help support what you're doing as far as being out there. Now, if you're in larger areas and larger cities, it's fairly easy to go find some temporary employment. Now, there are places, if you go to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, where the London Bridge is, I met several people out there that had been out in that area over and over for long periods of time. And when they needed money, they would just go downtown and they would get a job that would involve working that day or maybe a few days in a row, basically doing manual labor. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But not everyone is in the physical shape to be able to do that. So if you're not in the physical shape to be able to do that, then you're going to have to find some other way to supplement your income. Maybe it will be buying and selling things as you go. Maybe it will be finding something along the way, little things that you can sell, put on eBay and sell. So there's all kinds of ways to make money on the road, and we'll talk about a bunch of those in some future videos. But the main thing to understand is just that money is going to be an issue. And I've seen people fail and have to come off the road because they just didn't plan for that. How expensive that it was going to be, because it is expensive if you do it the wrong way. It can be more expensive being out on the road because of vehicle maintenance and repairs and all of the extra things. It can actually be more expensive if you do it wrong than it would be living in a house or an apartment if you're in a area where those things are cheap. Now, if you're coming from a large city, if you're coming from Portland or Boston or somewhere where the rents and the cost of housing is just absolutely ridiculous, then you certainly can go out and do this on the road much cheaper than what you were able to live in those cities. But again, you're going to have some kind of income, because in those cities you were probably working a 40-hour-week job in order to pay for that big apartment or make that house payment. If whistling was a requirement to do van life on the road, I would fail at van life. I am that bad at yeah, it's kind of pathetic, I know. I've met people who have been out on the road, and sometimes it's their second or third attempt at van life or doing long trips in a van. And that's all right. There is absolutely nothing wrong with failing. Everybody looks at failure as being something bad. Failure is not bad as long as you learn from it and improve and go on. And sometimes the people I've met, it's their second or third try before they really make it work for them. Hopefully from my channel, you'll learn things, if you're not on the road yet, that will walk you around some of these landmines so you don't have the serious problems when you do get out on the road that a lot of people are going to encounter. Or when you do run into those problems, you will go, oh, I remember, I saw Kevin did a video on that, and this is how he handled it, or this is how he said other people handled it. And you'll know how to take care of those things, and it won't be a big deal when something happens. Because, and never forget this is probably the most important thing I will ever say. It's all about problem solving. Life is all about problem solving, and being on the road is the same way. It's about being able to solve whatever problem comes up next. But if you've tried van life before and you couldn't work it out, or you've met other people in your adventures that haven't quite made it work out for different reasons, post that down in the comments below. Kind of share your stories with the other people, and let's compare notes, because again, we all learn together. If you're wondering what to watch next, if you look down in the description or pin down in the comments, there'll be links to other popular videos and recent videos, and you'll be able to see what you missed that may interest you. Of course, coming up, and I've been promising some of this for a while, I swear to you some of this stuff is in the pipeline, van comparisons, how we deal with clothes, all of these things are being worked on, but those type of videos take a little bit longer to put together. But I promise you that they're in the process of being done, and they are coming soon. So in the meantime, safe travels.